is our special coverage of Ghana versus Nigeria that is taking place here in Kumasi. Of course, it's just one of 5 games that are being played across the continent, and unlike what you may have heard or what you may have thought, the Black Stars versus the Super Eagles is not the only game on the menu. There are other things, other condiments, other desserts as well, and we'll be touching on them in a bit. We are in Kumasi, not far from the venue of tomorrow's game that will be played in just about 23 hours. I'm Gary Al Smith, and here with me is a motley crew I'll be introducing to you shortly. But today has been eventful in the Garden City. The Black Stars have trained. The Super Eagles have arrived in the country this morning on a chartered flight from Abuja to here in Kumasi, an hour, and then they had a motorcade that took them from the airport straight to their hotel. Afterwards, they rested, and then they had a training later in the day. In between, there have been press conferences, especially where the Black Stars is concerned. We'll play that shortly for you. In this show, we'll try to digest what the other fixtures mean as well, and try to look at what Ghana versus Nigeria will look like based on what we've seen today. We'll begin first with playing a bit of what happened at today's training and the press conferences as well.
Football fans in Kumasi were in a static mood before the final training session of the Black Stars ahead of the game against the Super Eagles of Nigeria on Friday. The team, led by former midfielder Otto Addo, has been training in Kumasi since Tuesday as they fine-tune preparations for the big game against their sworn rivals. Head coach of the 4-time African champions, Otto Addo, says despite the skepticism among Ghanaians, the team will not disappoint in Kumasi.
That people are skeptical because of the let's say the last bad tournament, so it's normal. But you know, where there's skepticism, there's a chance, and this skepticism, which was among the press or among a lot of people, made us actually work harder. So we have a plan. This is for sure. For sure, I can't tell the plan right now. You have to play the game, and then everybody hopefully will see. But football is football. You can play good, you can still lose. You can play bad, you can win. So first of all, me and the coaching staff, so we worked hard. The players worked hard to bring the plan on the pitch, and to make a high probability that we win. And we are very, very conscious about this.
Skipper of the side, Thomas Partey, says the players will give everything on the pitch after their disappointing campaign in the 2021 African Cup of Nations.
At the AFCON, we didn't, have much time. We were going to a tournament. This is not just a 2-game. So it's different. Now we have an opportunity to qualify to World Cup. We are going to face a great opponent with quality players, and we believe in each other. We're working hard. We did our best. As coach said, we have a plan that we want to, play as a team. We want to, develop this team to be able to achieve greater things. So this is what we want to do. We concentrate in this game. We try to do our best. Everyone that will be on the pitch will give their 100% or 200%. And at the end, what will happen, we have to be grateful for whatever we did.
The second leg of the World Cup playoff will come off at the Moshood Abiola Stadium in Abuja on March 29.
Right, so those were shots from the training from today as well. Now, key highlights. I'll leave the rest of the key highlights after I introduce my guest. So, from the far left, on my left, and if you're watching to your right, that will be Lee James of the BBC World Service, the host of Sports World on weekends as well. Hello, Lee. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to Ghana.
Yeah, thank you very much, Gary. Great to be here. Great to Well, sample what it's like on such a huge occasion like this for Ghana.
Also, George Ado Jr., welcome to Ghana as well.
That's it, yeah, thank you.
And, and also, welcome. John Bennett, also of the BBC World Service as well. John, thank you for joining us.
Hello, Gary. Last time I saw you, you had a Nigeria flag on. So you're back to the Ghana side now.
I have no idea what he's talking about, but that will be fine as well. So we've just played images of the training sessions today. George, let me come to you. The key highlights of the training involving some news that Ghanaians may not want to hear.
Yeah, I mean, let's start from the day. I mean, when the day started itself, and you know that Jordan Ayew tested positive for COVID-19. There were a few doubts about whether he was going to join the squad, but I think I said before that it could take you 2 days to return a negative test, and it appears that happened. Jordan Ayew joined the team very early this morning, and that was the first. Obviously, the big thing for most people, mixed reactions. Others feel that, oh no, we don't want Jordan in the squad. Others feel that, okay, well, if Jordan is back, it's all going to help. That was the first thing. The next important thing was, we had to go out there for the training session, and there were some key figures that came out there to come and help them. It was good to see the Black Stars captain Andrew Ayew on the training grounds. He came there, spoke to the guys. Good to see him. I think Mubarak Wakaso as well was there, and saw quite a number of former Black Stars players who were there to encourage the boys and definitely go into it. So,
in terms of the news, I was saying that Ghanaians may not want to hear. I was talking about Daniel Kofi.
Oh, yeah, I was going back to that. Yes, in fact, I hadn't finished. I was just talking about the good bits before I come to the bad bit. You're right. So you know that in the build-up to this World Cup qualifier, one of the key players everybody was looking forward to seeing was Daniel Kofi, obviously, because he's been on great form for St. Pauli, and he's been scoring goals and has been assisting. So if you look at the kind of reaction when you even post a picture of Daniel Kofi, it tells you what Ghanaians or how Ghanaians are connected to him. Also because he was one of the players amongst the team that did very well at the Africa Cup of Nations as an individual. He showed some really good performances, and he played very much like a man who was putting out his heart there for Ghana, and so a lot of people love it. To hear that he did not train itself was a problem for a lot of Ghanaians. Don't know if it halved the pain a bit to know that it's precautionary. He's picked up a knock in the last training session. It's a big worry for Ghanaians, basically, the fact that Ghana may not be able to get Daniel Kofi on to play.
Injury news, anything else from the Ghana camp that we know?
I mean, basically, team is very poised. The press conference, as we expected it to be, Otto Addo has been, he's been so cautious. He's been very careful with what he says because there have been so many incidents, and Ghanaians are not exactly happy with the kind of build-up we've had. And today's press conference gave me an idea that he really understands what's going on the ground. He kept on saying, we know we didn't play well the last Africa Cup of Nations. We know we probably don't deserve all your support. We know it's a big game. What I can promise you is we have trained hard, and we think that we're good enough to qualify. So we're coming out to play. Thomas Partey, who's going to be the captain of the Black Stars, because Captain Andrew Ayew is not there, also hinted the same and said, it's Nigeria. We understand. We want to get the result. And in all of this, Gary, if you've realized, Ghana has taken a certain position to say, well, it's our rivals, but we are okay to allow them talk big. We would surprise them. And that was the tone of the press conference from Ghana.
All right, so just to give an idea of the way things have gone so far, we are just about, like I said, 22 hours away from the game. The countdown is on, well and truly on. The mind game's also on. When the Nigerian team landed in Ghana, they didn't allow anybody, or they told the security apparatus not to allow anybody to take photos of the players and stuff like that as well. Nobody knows why that is the case. However, we are expecting the Nigerian contingent to drive into town tomorrow. We understand that they've bought large numbers of tickets as well. Remember, it's been electronic and so on and so forth.
Maybe I shouldn't cut you on that.
Yeah.
The number of supporters we saw outside the gates because the Nigeria bus was entering was amazing. I know that a lot of Nigerians are in Kumasi, that's for sure. but it looks like some work has gone into
Yeah.
getting some support here, and that's very important. Before their press conference, we were wondering even if the press conference won't come on. It took a long time before they came to sit down. Aside that, they made sure every human being was out of that stadium before they entered to come and train.
Wow.
Serious. And I mean, serious as serious, going through it. So they made sure that the press conference was over and they got everybody out before they came. The mind games are definitely on, and Nigerians look like they're upping their game.
Which brings me to the point, guys. I mean, you may have heard of Ghana versus Nigeria. Certainly, in this generation, in the social media era, such as it is, this is the first time we are having one like this. Have you been impressed?
I have, and yeah, 11 years, isn't it, since that they've played each other. I have, and I do enjoy, actually, the build-up to these big occasions. You talk about the mind games. I mean, could you not have found steps to get up to the aeroplane so the Nigerian team could come down? Is this all part of it as well? I do enjoy it, and I got a little taste of it when we went to the Yara Stadium just a short while ago, just to experience what it's like with the fans already building there. You can picture what it's going to be like on a match day. And I think, yes, there has been a lot of psychology, hasn't there, with the late announcement of the Ghana squad. A little bit of confusion, whether that is behind the scenes or whether that's just for the fans in the media, I don't know. But I think it all comes together, doesn't it? All the ingredients when you come to such a huge occasion. And there is so much at stake. A place at the World Cup finals. There are a number of people I've spoken to. I spoke to Sully Muntari earlier on today, and he said it is a shame that both West African teams can't go to the World Cup finals. There can only be one, and therefore I think you're going to have to accept there's going to be a bit of this psychology going on.
Sure. John, as well, I mean, this is your first time in Ghana, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. I've been to qualifiers in Ivory Coast, Cameroon, Senegal, and the atmosphere is always amazing. You know, it's heightened from a Cup of Nations. I feel like the Cup of Nations is the kind of sanitised version of the African football atmosphere and the noise of the crowds. And just being outside the Yara Stadium, I think this is going to be better than anything I've experienced so far in African football. Already, I mean, you mentioned the Nigeria fans outside. Yeah. Already, the atmosphere is so heightened. So I just cannot wait to find out what it's going to be like. My first match in Ghana. It's taken a long time for me to get here. Finally here, and it's the big game against Nigeria. So I think it's going to be amazing.
You can see we've got smiles on our faces. We can't wait for this, just to experience it and to be there. And I know we don't have the nerves and the tension that you do if you're supporting Ghana, but it is wonderful to be a part of it.
Yeah. So, which brings me to my next question. Before we dive into Ghana versus Nigeria again, like I said, it's just one of 5 games that are being played. Do you get a sense from the World Service angle that, again, you have reporters, it's the world's radio station after all. Do you really get a sense that we are just in a bubble and we think that it's just about Ghana and Nigeria, or truly out there, it is what the international media are thinking of?
It is. I think it's the rivalry, the nature of the two teams playing against each other. Obviously, there is another head-to-head contest, which is capturing the imagination as well, a repeat of the Africa Cup of Nations final, the game between Egypt and Senegal. Partly, I think, obviously, because of the two big heavyweight players in those two teams, Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mane, of course. Not to say the other ties, I'm sure, are capturing the imagination in their own countries. But I think something that breaks through on a global stage, you look at capturing the imagination of different people around the world, and it is the fact that you do have this rivalry together between Ghana and Nigeria. So I think that is what is cutting through the Jollof Derby, as we've been talking about, and experiencing as well, whilst we've been here as well.
Yeah, they're all huge games, but this is the one I think that the international media will be concentrating on from the African matches. As Lee said, when you talk about Senegal, Egypt, it's all been about Salah against Mane, but this has got so many subplots to it and so much to get neutrals interested. The local rivalry, we've got the big Premier League stars playing in the match. You've got people that European football fans will recognise from club football. So, yeah, it's got that atmosphere and the fact they haven't played for a long time as well. So, yeah, I don't think you're in a bubble here. I think it's as important outside this country as it is inside this country.
Yeah, Gary, just the point about why I think this is the biggest. And not because I'm Ghanaian, but you know what? Even when you get on social media, I think Ghana and Nigeria are very loud. I don't know how Ghana is matching Nigeria, 30 million against 200 million or so, but Ghana and Nigeria are very, 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 very loud. The next thing is that the rivalry is not just about football.
Exactly.
Yeah, Ghana and Nigeria are fighting almost always about something. They're having a banter about something, about a better musician in Ghana against one in Nigeria, about politics, about electricity, about everything. And they are great players. They're having a banter about something, about a better musician in Ghana against one in Nigeria, about politics, about electricity, about everything. And they are great players Ghana has produced and great players Nigeria has produced. So for instance, Gary played an interview how many years ago? 2 years ago. Jejo Kocha speaks, everybody's turning around. Solomon Tari speaks and everybody's turning around. So it makes it the global derby. I'm sorry. I know it feels like I'm pushing it too far, but I think it's the biggest.
I think that is the case, and certain rivalries do resonate globally. I've covered different sports as well. Indeed resonate right around the world.
Yeah. So, as if all this is not enough, earlier today, the president of Ghana visited the president of Nigeria in Abuja. Today, of all days. And that has also taken another twist. You see the pictures, the Ghanaian president, President Nana Akufo-Addo, in a suit, looking smart in a suit and tie with his spectacles, and His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, as always, in his kaftan, shaking hands and then spawning a whole lot of talk on social media, because traditionally, anytime the president of Nigeria has called the team, they lose. Anytime the president of Nigeria has wished the team well publicly, they lose. So Nigerians have been warning their president not to call, and Ghanaians have been asking if Nana Akufo-Addo did as the patriotic duty of persuading the president of Nigeria to call the team as well. So that's on another angle as well.
And there's a funny fact. This is what makes the rivalry so beautiful, and why Nigerians really want to have a goal. If you look at the head-to-head, in 37 meetings, Ghana has won 25 times, Nigeria has won 12 times.
Oh boy.
So Nigeria cannot understand why this country called Ghana, with just 30 million people,
they are little brothers.
That's equal. They're little brothers, equal to just one state in the big Nigeria, can keep on doing this. They feel there must be an end to it. And Ghana say, you have the population, God plays the talents here. We'll show you how to do it. Yeah.
Anyway, so another thing is about the historical rivalry that was explored yesterday on PM Express just a little, but that I'll expand on, are the origins of this rivalry. As you know, in 1963, the government of the day in Ghana passed what was called the Aliens Compliance Order, because they felt like Ghanaians were not getting enough jobs, and undocumented immigrants in the country were to blame for it. The subsequent expulsion of Nigerians led to a furore, and millions of Nigerians were chucked out of the country. 2 decades later, somewhere in 1982, 83, 85, Nigeria would reprise that as well, and also pass a similar directive that was for illegally or undocumented migrants who were settling in Nigeria illegally, right? And over 4 million of them were asked to leave the country. The catch was that about half of those 2 million were Ghanaian, and it is where the phrase Ghana must go, which is known around the world, with that bag came from, because as Ghanaians were leaving the country, most of them took that bag as well. And so for Nigeria, it is another way to tell the Ghanaians that we are the bosses. But on a tangible level, if you ask the Nigerians, especially the people in the Nigerian FA, this is also about business, because this match is worth $12 million. $12 million. Because if you qualify for the World Cup, Ghana, hopefully for George's sake, will get $12 million, and that is what the appearance there will get Ghana. Nigeria will also get the same amount of money.
Do you mean we're going to get appearance fees if we qualify as journalists?
Well,
you seem to say that was going to George.
Yeah, it's going to George. It's going to George as a Ghanaian, and George is going to share that money for all Ghanaians. But seriously though, I mean, beyond all the sentiments, are 2 football federations that are looking at the monetary power and what is at stake here. It's like in the championship in England. During the championship playoff, it's beyond everything. It's about how much is the championship cost again?
It's huge, but
60 million pounds.
60 million pounds, and they say it's the most expensive game in football as well. So beyond that, there's that. And I'd like you to touch on that, George.
Yeah.
Why the GFA have taken such a very serious tone about it because of the monetary aspect as well.
Yeah, they need money to do a lot of things. They really need money to do a lot of things.
Who doesn't?
Because you know that this Ghana Football Association administration were not too fortunate because COVID, halved their tenure, so they didn't get as much money as they wanted. The Ghana Premier League has not brought in the kind of revenue that they want. The Black Stars, that is supposed to be the cash cow, has not been doing well. So generally, it's been slightly slow in terms of sponsors and corporate bodies wanting to come on board. So they need this badly. But one reason why they need this is that the cash cow has not been doing well. So generally, it's been slightly slow in terms of sponsors and corporate bodies wanting to come on board. So they need this badly. But one reason why they need this is that it is the one most important game in the life of this administration. After all the bad performances, this game can cancel all the bad things or all the wrong things that have happened and put them on a different light. If you win against your rivals, Ghanaians are happy about it. I think for the next week, we're going to be talking about Ghana, Nigeria, and then you qualify to the World Cup, and it's right in their faces. If the opposite happens, we go back to they may not be good enough, and the discussion starts. So this is important.
But first, Sammy Kufuor, who is saying that despite everything that has gone on, the Nigeria sports minister saying that yesterday he said that, Nigeria are going to beat the SHIT out of Ghana, and that he is imploring the Nigerian players to give everything because they have been insured, their legs have been insured. Yesterday, the sports minister of Ghana said at this time on this show, PM Express, that, well, if the Nigerians have been insured, the Ghanaian government through the company called Glyco are the official insurance of the Black Stars, and they have also insured the legs of the Black Stars as well. What does Sammy Kufuor say about the psychological advantage? Let's hear the former Bayern Munich man.
It's always a big test for the players. It's about a mind game. Regardless of the big star that you have in your team, it doesn't make the difference. What makes the difference is the mindset, your concentration in the game, and your determination how to play against each other. So it looks like we are friends. Yeah. And after our career, we always chatting, we always have a platform that we share ideas, we talk about situations. But this one, I close the chapter. I don't talk to them anymore. Yeah. After the game, then I will talk to them.
Okay, but tell me, how different is it playing Ghana, Nigeria from the other countries?
Well, this is a big challenge because the communication between Ghana and Nigeria, and how many people that live in Ghana that they are Nigerians, and how many people that live in Ghana that they are Nigeria that they are Ghanaians. So it tells you how important that these two countries have been for so long. And then don't forget that when you look at the history in the African Cup of Nations, like this morning we were texting something and I just told them that when was the last time that you guys beat us? That was 2006. And I was playing that game, 2006. They beat us 1-0 AFCON. And from then, they never get any chance to beat us. We always win against them. So psychologically, we had an advantage. They can have the big stars, but in this case, when you look at on paper, they are much better than us, player to player. But when you look into the details of Ghana, Nigeria, the history, we are ahead of them. So we will take that advantage on them.
Okay. Ahmed Musa granted an interview yesterday where he said that it's beyond football. It could be politics is part, yes. Ghana Jollof is part, Nigeria Jollof is part, even acting and even Ghanaian music and Nigerian music is part. Do you agree? Do you think it's beyond football?
I think so. I agree with him 200% because this is a thing that it's like you have, like what he said, you have fufu and you have eba. Which one people will taste very well? So it's like Ghana go to a World Cup or Nigeria go to World Cup. Everybody wish in this West Africa that two of them go, but it come to a situation that one of them have to drop. And we are not going to drop. They have to drop. So they know it. And it's beyond even football. the musicians, Shatawale and his people are fighting the other side. Yeah. When you come to the acting side, Yvonne and the Genevieve are fighting at the other side. When you come to the legend, we are fighting against Okocha and then Amokachi and them. And then when you come to the reality, the players that are playing right now, Pate and his people also fighting against each other, against the Nigerians. So it's beyond football.
Realistically, how do you make of our chances?
Well, our chances is bright. We play in Kumasi, don't forget. Kumasi has made Ghana qualify for the 3 consecutive World Cup. So the trust is here. That's why God make it happen for us to play in Kumasi. It's not by accident. It's a reason and purpose. So I believe that this game is very crucial, not for me alone, not for my chairman. It's for all of us, even the ladies at the studio. They know how important that this game means to everyone in this country. So it's a time that we come together as a family, as a country, just to support our boys, regardless, and be behind them.
What do you make of the reception that you received in Kumasi so far?
Amazing, amazing. Don't forget I was born here and I'm still here. My family is here. Every part of me is in Kumasi. So me being the member of the organizing team, I mean, it's a privilege for me, being a Kumasi boy, and the Black Star coming here to show their skill to the Kumasi people is an honor for all of us.
I'm Gary Al Smith, and we've been counting down to Ghana versus Nigeria. It seems that the countdowns have been going on from January, or since January when the fixtures were announced, and finally we can really call it a countdown of sorts because it's the eve of the game, and we are here in Kumasi at the Monsoon Hotel in Ahojo. Fantastic place where the best of the multimedia group has been bringing us a lot of programming for a while now. Monsoon Hotel. Check it out when you are here. Our coverage of Ghana versus Nigeria over the period, as you've seen in all the promos, is brought to you, and this is across the multimedia group in our English and our CAN brands, brought to you by Qatar Airways, going places together, by Airtel Tigo Sikakoko bundles. Life is simple. By KFC, it's finger licking good. By Azar Paints, #1 from the Azar Group since 1921. 10bet for the better. All right, and for the better will be if Ghana qualifies for the World Cup at the expense of Nigeria. I'm telling you. But immediately we come after this commercial break that we'll go for. This will be our agenda. Myself, John, George, and Lee will look at the key areas where Ghana versus Nigeria can be won or lost, and then we take a trip to some of the other games across the African continent that we should be looking forward to. Stay with us. This is the special edition of PM Express from that would know if Nigerians will be trolling the Ghanaians or Ghanaians will be trolling the Nigerians, or it will be a draw, in which case I'm not sure who will be trolling who. Thank you for staying with us on PM Express, this special edition of the build-up to Ghana versus Nigeria here on the Joy News channel. We are at the Monsoon Hotel in Ahojo in Kumasi, not far from the Yara Stadium, and we are hoping that by Tuesday, Ghana will be one of the countries at the World Cup and will not be doing what has just happened to Italy. Now, Italy last won the World Cup in 2006, and after that they have not played in the knockout stages because either they've missed the World Cups or they've been knocked out in the group stages. They've been knocked out of qualifying by no less a country than the great North Macedonia. Yes, North Macedonia have beaten Italy by 1-0, and so North Macedonia go on to face Cristiano Ronaldo's Portugal for a place at the World Cup. Football, a wise old man once said, bloody hell. So we're here, Lee James of the BBC, George Addo of the Joy Sports team.
You almost said Ghana BBC.
Of the Ghana BBC, obviously, and also John Bennett. But this is what the World Cup is about, isn't it? I mean, it doesn't have to always go the big dogs' way. European champions twice in a row missing the World Cup.
Absolutely, yeah. Twice missing out in the World Cup. Italy, unthinkable really when they missed out 4 years ago. Left a lot of soul searching.
World Cup is about, isn't it? I mean, it doesn't have to always go the big dogs' way. European champions twice in a row missing the World Cup.
Absolutely, yeah. Twice missing out in the World Cup. Italy, unthinkable really when they missed out 4 years ago. Left a lot of soul searching. Eventually Roberto Mancini rebuilt that team, and yes, they became European champions, beating England in the final. And now to not be at the World Cup, it just shows though, in a one-off match, and that was just one match, and clearly Ghana Nigeria is over 2 legs, but in these matches, anything can happen.
Yep.
There can be some surprises.
Yep.
There can be things go away that we maybe don't think they will. And yeah, it's a huge result that is for Italy to go out.
It is. I mean, the European qualifier is also taking our fancy. Earlier today, Saudi Arabia also confirmed their slots at the World Cup. So the numbers are building. From Africa as well, I've seen a lot of predictions on social media as to which of the countries will be going there. Which brings me to John Bennett. John, apart from Ghana versus Nigeria, we've touched only on Egypt versus Senegal, the other titular game people will be looking forward to. You want to touch on a scale of bigness, which of the other ones is as big as these two?
Yeah, Algeria, Cameroon, I think is huge. I'm fascinated by Algeria because they were so poor in the Cup of Nations. It had been an upward trajectory under Jamel Belmadi, who was getting so much praise. Now there's been a downturn, and I just wonder, with his style of management, I admire him, but he's strict,
Yep.
he's stern,
Yep.
he asks a lot of discipline from his players. It's very difficult when you're a manager in that style, once things go down, to get it going back up again. So I just wonder if he's going to be able to turn things around against the Cameroon side, where they look so relaxed. Rigobert Song's in charge. They had a decent AFCON. Of course, they didn't get to the final as they would have wanted to. So I'm fascinated to see what Algeria turn up in that game.
So today, Algeria, like all the countries that are playing, they had their press conferences. That's Algeria and Cameroon. Rigobert Song said he's just there to pass on his experience. And he said the number one thing that he wants to do for the Cameroonian players is to calm them down. He said that is the number one thing he wants them to do, not to feel. The guy who was one of the best players at the AFCON, Nuhu Tolo. So he was asked if he knows about Nuhu Tolo. He said, of course. He knows he plays for Sounders FC in the USA. He had a good game, but he's also Riyad Mahrez and plays against the best defenses in the world. And he regularly beats them as well. So tomorrow, we'll see who is the better player.
Yeah, but you know, the thing about Algeria, and before the Africa Cup of Nations, they looked very good.
Yeah.
Many pundits would have said Algeria were likely to win the Africa Cup of Nations.
I said so.
Yes, many. And because they actually exhibited every kind of great characteristic. I mean, they had the flair.
Yep.
They had the grit.
Yep.
They looked good in defense as well.
Good spine to the team.
The only problem there with Algeria is that they are not good travelers, and you can look at their history, the Africa Cup of Nations. When they have traveled down to west or east, wherever, they don't do well.
Sub-Saharan Africa.
Yes, they do very well up. So this is the thing: they are not a bad team. Over 2 legs, they can be a very dangerous side to play against. If they get back in the rhythm, which I think they will,
yeah,
they can really cause
psychologically as well. You mentioned the travelling.
Yes.
They're playing in Douala, aren't they? Which is where they were playing at the Africa Cup of Nations, where it didn't go so well at all. So psychologically, they're going to go back there again.
Yeah.
Can they do it right against the host this time and try and get it right? The second leg in Bleeder, though, where they have an excellent home record, and again, a lot of these 2-leg ties, I think, are going to depend what happens in the first leg and what kind of advantage teams will have to take into the home legs for the nations on Tuesdays.
Yeah, so you were speaking about how strict and stern the coach is and whether that will inure to their benefit in terms of turning the team around. But what he does know how to do is to make the tough calls. He's never been shy of that. So, for example, the player who scored the winning goal for them in the 2019 AFCON, Baghdad Bounedjah, has been dropped. West Ham side Benrahma has also been dropped as well. And he's literally telling the team and making sure that, he said in the press conference that what they experienced was a blip, but he was assuring them that they will come back stronger.
And he's recalled Adlan Guediora, who plays for Burton Albion in the third tier of English football. He's a great player, Adlan Guediora, and a really good character. And I think that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to go back in time, I think, to that AFCON 2019 maybe. And I'm not quite sure it's going to work.
Okay, so Cameroon versus Algeria. First leg will be in Douala as well. There's DRC versus Morocco. That will be in Kinshasa. Morocco say that their hotels are not good. They've had to pay $3,500 a day for security. The airport security was bad. Nobody met them at the airport. You know how it goes.
That's why we have World Cup qualifiers there, so that they can develop. So
this is psychology. This is what you do, though, don't you?
Yeah.
You get your fans to go outside the hotel of the team and play loud music all night, don't you? Maybe set the fire alarms off. This is what you do, isn't it?
Yeah, you do, yeah. And it's fair. You played 90 minutes. You know, in DR Congo, you played 90 minutes in Morocco. So do your magic wherever it is, really. But this is an interesting game, man.
And without an Africa Cup of Nations, DR Congo had a lot of time to prepare for this. They've been building up to this, haven't they? So,
Quick notes before we start wrapping up. DR Congo last qualified for the World Cup in 1974.
Oh, I see.
And it's been a long time, 1974. Mobutu Sese Seko was president at the time. And as we wrap up, I'll also tell you that the last game we should be looking forward to is Mali versus Tunisia. Mali have never qualified for the World Cup, and Mali are playing in Bamako. It's significant because they've played all their previous games in Morocco due to political instability at home. So predictions for Ghana versus Nigeria as we go. My producer is saying that she's going to finish me. Predictions quickly, Ghana, Nigeria. Over 2 legs.
I think Ghana will take a lead to Abuja, and then we will see what happens.
We will see what happens.
Leg.
George.
Ghana takes the lead to Abuja, draw in Abuja.
Ghana win the first leg, and I'm sitting on the fence for the second leg.
For the second leg.
Off the fence now.
Okay.
After eating wache, get off the fence.
Get off the fence. They ate wache today. Anyway, we are at the Monsoon Hotel, and our coverage of the World Cup qualifiers, Ghana, Nigeria, is brought to you by Qatar Airways, by Airtel Tigo, by Azar Paint, by 10Bet as well, and by KFC. I'm Gary Al Smith. Thank you to the entire production team here who held us down. Let's go and get the coverage tomorrow. 7:30 is the kickoff. Go Ghana.